My beloved child, come close and listen with the ears of your spirit. For what I am about to speak is not a tale from men, but a whisper carried through the trembling corridors of the heavenly realm. I feel an urgency burning in my bones, a stirring that will not let me rest, for time, yes, even the time of the Spirit, is thinning like smoke lifted by the wind. Only moments remain. In the stillness of this hour, I saw a vision unfold before me, a vast realm, not seen by mortal eyes, where the air itself glows with the echoes of eternal truth. The heavens were not silent. No, they trembled. I heard alarms ringing like ancient trumpets, shaking the very pillars of the unseen world. It was as though heaven itself was trying to signal the children of God, calling them to wake, to rise, to open their eyes before something irreversible slipped into place. And then I saw it. A parchment. A scroll. A document written not with ink, but with a dark residue of accusation. I saw your name, yes, your name, carved upon it. Not by the hand of truth, but by the shadowed fingers of deception. A false accusation, sealed in the spirit realm, aimed at undermining your destiny, your calling, your identity. It carried a weight designed to pull you out of alignment with heaven's path. My beloved child, I felt the sorrow of heaven as the scroll was lifted. The air thickened with divine concern. And suddenly, with the speed of lightning and the fury of a guardian, Archangel Michael appeared. His presence was fire wrapped in authority. His wings stretched like the horizon, and his voice shook both heaven and earth. He looked at that scroll with anger, not toward you, but toward the injustice written against you. I heard him cry out, "Open." Tell them to open. Tell them to open before it is too late. His sword, glowing like molten truth, trembled in his hand. His eyes were fixed not on the accusation, but toward you, toward your spirit. It was as though he saw that you were moments away from either rising or falling, moments away from stepping into truth or being trapped by the lie crafted against your name. My beloved child, his plea was not soft. It was urgent, desperate, even. Not because heaven is weak, but because the window of intervention is thinning. The accuser has written something that heaven did not write, and now all of heaven waits for your response, your awakening, your opening. The veil between worlds is thin tonight. I feel it. The spiritual winds are shifting. Your name echoes through the halls of heaven, and the battle taking place above you is unlike anything you have known. Only moments remain before the accusation tries to root itself into the timeline of your destiny. But heaven refuses to let that happen without calling you forth. So hear this. The heavens are speaking. The angels are moving. The court of God is stirring. And Archangel Michael, mighty defender of God's children, is begging you to open before it's too late. My beloved child, come and walk with me deeper into the mystery of the Spirit. Let me guide you to a place few have ever truly seen, though many speak of it. It is a realm older than creation itself, a chamber woven into the very thoughts of God. It is the ancient courtroom of heaven. When I speak of a courtroom, do not imagine a human court with wooden benches and dusty books. No, this place is alive. It breathes truth. Its walls shiver like crystal mixed with fire. Its floor reflects the glory of eternity, and every step echoes like thunder. This is where destinies are judged, where charges are heard, and where the very essence of a person is weighed against divine purpose. In this place, nothing is hidden. Nothing is small. Everything carries eternal significance. As I entered the vision, my beloved child, I saw the throne of judgment, high, radiant, unreachable to darkness. From that throne flows a river of light, purer than anything on earth. It is truth itself. Not truth as humans understand it, but truth that burns away illusions, truth that exposes motives, truth that stands even when worlds crumble. Around the throne, books were open, massive, ancient, and overflowing with living letters that danced like flames. These books contain the stories of God's children, their callings, their destinies, their assignments, and the words spoken over their lives before they ever breathed their first breath. But there is another place in this courtroom, a seat reserved for the accuser. And though heaven overwhelms him, though the glory burns against him, he still dares to approach with his twisted claims. The enemy does not fight with swords, he fights with accusations. He wages war with words. He tries to build legal cases against children of God because he knows that if he cannot defeat your strength, he will attack your identity. If he cannot destroy your calling, he will attempt to contaminate it. If he cannot stop your destiny, he will try to write a lie that derails your path. In this courtroom, accusations are not mere whispers. They are recorded. They become spiritual documents. They stand as claims that heaven must either dismiss or allow, depending on the posture of the one being accused. That is why the enemy works so hard to write accusations against you. He wants to present them before heaven as proof, hoping you remain unaware, silent, or spiritually closed. For silence in the spirit realm is agreement. And when a child of God does not respond, does not awaken, does not open their spirit, the accusations begin to gain ground. My beloved child, I want you to understand how serious this is. In the courtroom of heaven, every word spoken against you, every lie, every false narrative, every attempt to label you, limit you, bind you, is weighed. And the enemy watches patiently, waiting for the moment your spirit is tired, distracted, or disconnected. That is when he writes. That is when he tries to file charges. He knows he cannot take your destiny by force, so he tries to take it through deception. But hear me. Heaven is not passive. Heaven is not silent. Heaven watches with burning intensity. The angels stand at attention. The Spirit of God hovers like a consuming fire, scanning every word, every intention. And when there is injustice, when a false accusation is recorded, the hosts of heaven react. I saw them, my beloved child. Millions upon millions, standing in rows that stretched beyond sight. Their wings shimmered with the glory of God. Their eyes were locked on the scroll bearing your name. It was as though heaven itself held its breath. A false accusation in the spirit realm is not a small matter. It is an attack on the blueprint God wrote for you. And when such an accusation is detected, the entire courtroom responds. A sound rang out, a deep, booming vibration that rippled across the heavenly chambers. It was the sound of divine summons, calling the mighty defender himself, Archangel Michael. At that moment, the courtroom brightened. The air thickened with authority. Even the shadows recoiled. For where Michael walks, deception trembles. Where Michael stands, every lie is exposed. My beloved child, heaven is not waiting casually. Heaven is waiting for you to open. For in this courtroom, your voice matters. Your response matters. And your awakening is the key that turns the case in your favor. My beloved child, as we continue this journey, lean in even closer, for what I am about to reveal is not meant to frighten you but to awaken you. There is a plot that has been unfolding in the shadows, a strategy woven with the intention of steering your destiny away from its divine path. The enemy does not waste his time on those who pose no threat. He invests his darkest efforts into those carrying heaven's greatest assignments. And you, my beloved child, have been marked by heaven long before the foundations of the world. That is why the enemy has crafted a false accusation with such precision. When I looked deeper into the vision, I saw the realm where darkness schemes. It was not chaos as some imagine, but a calculated quiet, a deceptive calm. Shadows moved like thinking creatures, whispering drafts of lies, forming stories that imitate truth, but lack the breath of God. Demonic scribes were hunched over ancient-looking tablets, carving words that were never spoken by God, words never meant to be attached to your name. Their goal was simple, to write something so convincing, so subtle, that if heaven were not alerted, it could have stood as evidence against you. My beloved child, the enemy has watched your journey, not with admiration, but with fear. He saw the moments you rose when you could have fallen. He saw the nights you cried and still chose hope. He saw the days when it felt like the weight of the world rested on your shoulders, yet you pressed forward. These moments were not small. They were victories. And every victory you walked into became an alarm in the camp of darkness. Your resilience has disturbed the enemy. Your potential has threatened him. Your destiny has enraged him. So he crafted an accusation, not because he is strong, but because he is terrified of what you are about to become. The enemy cannot birth destiny. He can only distort it. He cannot create truth. He can only twist it. And so he takes bits of your past, fragments of your weaknesses, whispers of your doubts, and tries to weave them into a narrative that will disqualify you in the eyes of the heavenly court. A false story that chains your identity, limits your authority, and dims your spiritual voice. In the vision, I saw him pacing, reversing the accusation. His voice was cold, steady, almost calculated. He believed he had found the perfect angle, the perfect opening, the perfect moment. He waited for the hour when your spirit was weary, when your guard was low, when your heart felt stretched thin. It was then that the accusation was written. Not just spoken, but inscribed. The enemy writes because he understands the laws of the spirit realm. He knows that written accusations carry weight unless confronted by truth. But what he did not account for, my beloved child, is the watchfulness of heaven. What he did not anticipate is the attention your destiny has drawn from the forces of light. He did not expect that even his whisper in the shadows would send tremors through the courts of God. For heaven sees all. Heaven hears all. Heaven defends those whose hearts are turned toward the Most High. As I watched, the enemy's plot continued. He attempted to attach curses to your path, delays to your journey, confusion to your decisions. He sent spirits to cloud your clarity, distractions to drain your strength, burdens to weigh your spirit down. Not because he has the power to stop you, but because he hopes you will stop yourself. The enemy's greatest desire is to dim the flame within you before it fully ignites. Yet, my beloved child, what he does in darkness is already being unraveled in the light. His whispers are being drowned out by the sound of heavenly movement. His accusations are being exposed by the radiance of truth. His schemes are being dismantled even now as this message reaches your spirit. And hear me. The accusation he wrote against you is not the final word. It is a 40 document created by fear, not authority. Heaven has already risen in response. Archangel Michael has already drawn his sword. The courtroom has already shifted in your favor. But there is still one step that depends on you. One choice that heaven waits for. One opening only your spirit can create. For the enemy may write accusations, but he cannot seal them. Only silence gives them power. Only spiritual slumber allows them to stand. But you, my beloved child, are awakening. You are rising. And the moment you open, everything written against you begins to crumble. My beloved child, prepare your heart now, for what I am about to share carries weight that rests upon the very fabric of eternity. When the false accusation against your name was lifted into the sight of heaven, the atmosphere shifted in an instant. It was as if all creation leaned forward at once, waiting to see who would step forth to confront the injustice. And then, like a roar cutting through the silence, he appeared, Archangel Michael, the warrior of heaven, the guardian of God's children, the commander of celestial hosts. He did not walk into the courtroom. He burst into it like a storm clothed in light. His presence did not merely fill the room, it shook it. Flames rippled across his armor. His wings spread wide, stretching farther than the walls themselves, each feather glowing like the edge of a rising sun. His eyes burned with a holy fire, the kind that sees through every lie, every trap, every false charge crafted in the dark. When Michael steps into a battle, the entire realm knows that heaven has taken the matter personally. As he approached the scroll with your name on it, my beloved child, his expression was not gentle. It was fierce. It was protective. It carried the weight of a warrior who has fought for generations, who has defended millions, but in that moment was focused entirely on you. He lifted the scroll with his hand, and the parchment trembled at his touch. The words written by the enemy hissed and recoiled like shadows retreating from the light. Michael leaned closer, examining every false line, every twisted phrase. And then he lifted his head, and his voice rang through the courtroom like a clap of thunder. This is not truth. This is not their portion. This is not what heaven has written. Those words did not simply echo. They rearranged the atmosphere. Angels shifted. The courtroom brightened. Even the books of destiny seemed to glow with renewed life. It was a declaration not just over the document, but over you. A declaration that the lies spoken against you are not the final verdict. A declaration that heaven knows your true identity. A declaration that your destiny is still firmly in the hands of the one who created you. But my beloved child, what pierced me the most was not Michael's authority. It was his urgency. After examining the scroll, he turned, not to the enemy, not to the throne, but toward you. It was as though he looked beyond the courtroom, beyond the realms, directly into your spirit. And I heard his voice not with my ears, but with my heart. It carried desperation, not because heaven is weak, but because heaven needs your cooperation. Open. Tell them to open. Tell them to open before it is too late. These were not casual words. They were a cry of warning, a plea, a command wrapped in mercy. For though heaven stands ready to defend you, heaven will never override your will. The battles won in the Spirit require your alignment. The breakthroughs waiting to be released require your permission. The accusations written against you can be shattered, but only if your spirit opens to the light that exposes them. Michael's wings flared as he stepped closer, his sword drawn. The blade shimmered like a waterfall of fire. It hummed with divine authority, vibrating with the power to cut through deception, to sever spiritual chains, to break false verdicts written in the dark. But he did not strike immediately. You paused. You waited. His eyes, burning with heavenly concern, fixed themselves toward you, as though time itself slowed until your response was given. My beloved child, the Archangel who commands legions is calling upon you. not because he needs your strength, but because he needs your yes, your opening, your willingness to align with heaven before the accusation gains momentum. For spiritual accusations are not static. They expand if ignored. They grow if unchallenged. They attempt to seep into the cracks of identity, turning into confusion, heaviness, delay, or spiritual numbness. But the moment you open, truly open, Michael's sword acts. Heaven intervenes. The lie collapses, and the accusation loses all authority. As I watched him standing there, trembling with both fury and urgency, I understood something deeply. Heaven is more invested in your destiny than you realize. The angels assigned to you have not left your side. The warfare you felt in recent seasons was not because you were unprotected, but because you were important. Because your voice carries weight. Because your calling carries fire. Because your future carries impact. Michael did not rise for just anyone. He rose for you. And heaven waits now for the opening that will allow the false accusation to be destroyed once and for all. My beloved child, the message is clear. Do not delay. Do not hesitate. Your spirit must open, for the battle is already raging, and the victory has already been aligned in your favor, if only you will allow heaven to act. My beloved child, as we move deeper into this revelation, let your heart remain open, for what I am about to uncover will shake you and strengthen you all at once. After Archangel Michael examined the false accusation written against your name, something extraordinary happened in the heavenly courtroom. A murmur rose among the angels, soft at first, then growing, shifting the atmosphere with a holy tension. They were not merely reacting to the lie. They were responding to something else, something hidden, something waiting, something bearing your name. Then, from behind the throne, a smaller angel approached. His steps were gentle, but the weight of what he carried made the entire realm fall silent. In his hands was a scroll, sealed with heavenly wax, shining with the purest gold. Like the dark document created by the enemy, this scroll pulsed with life. Its letters moved like rivers of light beneath the seal, as though the scroll itself breathed. And I knew instantly, this scroll belonged to you. It was the original writing, the true decree, the heavenly record of who you are, who you were designed to become, and what you were assigned to accomplish on the earth. This scroll was not a reaction to the accusation. It existed long before the accusation was even imagined. It was written in eternity, sealed in glory, and protected by angels who have watched over your destiny since the day your spirit was formed in the mind of God. My beloved child, hear this deeply. The accusation written against you is recent, but the truth written for you is ancient. The enemy's lie is temporary, but God's decree is eternal. That scroll has survived storms, seasons, battles, and even the moments you nearly gave up. Yet it has never been destroyed, never dimmed, never written. It remains untouched by darkness. When Michael saw the hidden scroll, a roar escaped him, one that carried both triumph and urgency. He stepped aside so the angel could lay it before the throne. As he did, the seal gleamed brighter and brighter, forcing every dark whisper to retreat. Even the false accusation shrank in comparison. It was like watching a cheap counterfeit crumble before the majesty of the original. In that moment, heaven revealed a mystery. The false accusation was never meant to be the final story. It was an interruption, not a destiny. A distortion, not a decree. Yet if the scroll of truth remains unopened within you, if your spirit does not rise, awaken, and receive it, the enemy's lie gains room to operate. Heaven can place the truth before you, but your spirit must open for it to enter. As I watched, the angel who carried the scroll looked outward, beyond the courtroom, as though gazing straight into your life. His face carried tenderness, and yet a hint of sorrow, as if he wondered whether you would open in time. Heaven knows your potential. Heaven knows your identity. Heaven knows what was written for you before the world was formed. But heaven cannot force your spirit to receive it. My beloved child, I saw the danger of delay. I saw how accusations, if ignored, can grow roots. They can begin to whisper into your thoughts, shape your emotions, disrupt your confidence, and cloud your path. The enemy hopes you remain unaware of the scroll of truth sitting in the courtroom right now, waiting for your agreement. Michael turned again toward you, his eyes blazing with a fierce protectiveness. The sword in his hand lifted slightly, and the flames along its edge surged upward. The courtroom vibrated with anticipation. It was as though all of heaven leaned forward, waiting for you to act, to open, to align. For when you open your spirit to the truth written by God, the false accusation loses all power. The scroll of your destiny unseals. The words written for you begin to speak. Heaven moves. Angels are dispatched. Chains break. Shadows flee. The very atmosphere surrounding your life shifts. My beloved child, listen closely now. This message reaching you is not random. It is not entertainment. It is not coincidence. It is heaven knocking on the door of your heart, asking you to open before the lie gains ground it was never meant to have. And as you listen, as your spirit awakens, as your heart responds, you become part of the divine alignment that destroys the darkness written against you. And before we go further, let me tell you something from a place of holy responsibility. When a message like this reaches you, it is not meant to be kept silent. It is meant to be carried, spread, declared, and shared, for there are others whose names lie beneath accusations as well. When you help deliver this light to others, heaven takes note, for you become a vessel through which truth travels. So, my beloved child, as we continue this journey, let your heart feel the gentle nudge of heaven. Spread what awakens your spirit. Share what stirs your soul. Support the voice that brings this revelation to you, for in doing so, you partner with the very angels who fight on your behalf. My beloved child, as we continue, allow your spirit to grow even more alert, for what I am about to reveal carries a tone of urgency that heaven has pressed upon my heart. After the hidden scroll with your true destiny was placed before the throne, the atmosphere in the heavenly courtroom shifted once again, this time with a heaviness, a seriousness, a sense that time itself was tightening like a closing doorway. For in the spirit realm, there is something very real that many do not understand. The enemy operates with countdowns. He knows he cannot win against heaven, so he tries to win against time. If he cannot alter what God has written, he will attempt to interfere with the timing of its fulfillment. My beloved child, hear me. There are windows in the spirit that open for a moment, and in those moments, heaven moves swiftly. But those windows are not open forever. They close when assignment shifts, when seasons change, when opportunities pass, and when the heart delays too long. This is why the enemy rushes to write accusations, because he attempts to seize the moment before you awaken to the truth of who you are. And in this vision, I saw that he had already begun a countdown. It appeared above the false accusation like a clock made of dark mist, its numbers fading in and out, not in earthly minutes or hours, but in spiritual measures of alignment. Each pulse of the clock felt like a tug, trying to pull your destiny off course. I watched as the clock ticked, not with sound, but with pressure, every shift of its numbers pressed against your spirit like a weight, a heaviness that could manifest in your life as confusion, delay, fatigue, or even discouragement. This is the enemy's strategy, to wear you down until you stop fighting, stop believing, stop opening. But heaven was not silent. Angels looked at the countdown with solemn eyes. Michael's grip tightened around his sword. The flames along its edge surged higher. It was clear that heaven was ready to act, that the sword was prepared to strike down the accusation and silence the enemy once and for all. And yet heaven waited. Not because it lacked power, but because heaven needed you. Your opening. Your yes. Your alignment. My beloved child, you must understand, in the realm of the Spirit, agreement is everything. Heaven cannot agree on your behalf unless you open, and the enemy cannot overpower you unless you remain closed. This is why the countdown exists, not to intimidate you, but to reveal the urgency of responding while the window is open, while heaven is moving, while the scroll of your destiny is glowing, while Michael is standing ready. I saw the clock pulse again, and with each pulse, shadows attempted to stretch toward the scroll with your true decree. They tried to coil around it, to dim it, to make it harder for your spirit to recognize its light. These shadows were not powerful, but they were persistent. They whispered lies meant to slow you down. They spoke doubt meant to cloud your clarity. They stirred distractions meant to keep you spiritually asleep. But my beloved child, even as the shadows moved, I saw something greater. I saw your name glowing from the scroll. I saw the fire in Michael's eyes. I saw heaven leaning forward, as though ready to burst into action the moment you opened your spirit. The countdown may have been ticking, but heaven was not panicked. Heaven was prepared. Heaven was focused. Heaven was attentive to you. And then I heard a voice, not loud, but steady, like a whisper that carries the weight of eternity. Tell them the hour is thin. Tell them the window is open. Tell them only moments remain. This was not a warning born of fear, but of love. Heaven longs to intervene, but you must open so that intervention can begin. The enemy counts down to delay you, but heaven counts down to deliver you. And you, my beloved child, stand at the tipping point between what the enemy is trying to write and what God has already written. You are not helpless. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are simply moments away from breakthrough, if you open before the countdown completes. My beloved child, now that the urgency of the hour has been revealed, let us walk gently yet deeply into the mystery of what it truly means to open. For heaven has been crying out this word again and again, open. And perhaps you have asked in your heart, what does it mean to open? What must I do? How does my spirit respond? My beloved child, hear me. To open is not a ritual. It is not a formula. It is not a complicated spiritual exercise reserved for the wise or seasoned. To open simply means to become willing. Willing to receive. Willing to let truth touch the places you have guarded. Willing to let heaven interrupt the lies that have tried to cling to your identity. Opening is not the movement of the body, it is the posture of the heart. In the vision, when I looked at the scroll that held your true destiny and then at the false accusation crafted by the enemy, I noticed something. The false accusation gained strength from silence, but the true scroll glowed brighter each time a heart stirred with desire for God. Heaven does not need you to understand everything. Heaven only needs you to open enough for the light to enter. Opening begins when you allow yourself to say, even quietly within your spirit, I am willing. I am ready. I receive. For the enemy tries to convince you that opening requires perfection, but heaven knows it only requires surrender. The moment your spirit whispers yes, something begins to shift. The heaviness lifts. The shadows retreat. The countdown slows. And Michael's sword begins to rise. As I continued watching in the vision, I saw how opening looks in the spirit realm. It is like a window unlocking inside your heart. At first it is small, a tiny crack where the light seeps in. Then, as you breathe deeper, as your heart softens, as your spirit leans forward, the window widens. And as it widens, the light from the scroll with your true destiny begins to flow into you. It is not a light that blinds. It is a light that restores, reminds, renews. My beloved child, so much of what has burdened you, so much of what has confused you, so much of what has made your journey feel heavy was not your destiny. It was the weight of an unopened spirit struggling to carry accusations meant to destroy you. When the spirit remains closed, even small lies feel heavy. But when the spirit opens, even deep wounds lose their power. Because the light of heaven fills every place that was once dark. I saw angels gather around the scroll, ready to release what was written for you. But they waited. Not because they doubted you, but because they honored the design of heaven. God created you with the ability to choose, and heaven respects that sacred gift. Your opening is not the unlocking of a gate that heaven tries to force open. It is the lifting of a curtain that heaven gently waits behind. And my beloved child, something else happened in the vision. Something so beautiful that it moved me deeply. The moment your spirit began to open, even slightly, Michael stepped closer. The glow around him intensified. His wings shifted, as though preparing to strike against the enemy's accusation. The sword he held brightened, humming with heavenly fire. It was not your strength that moved him. It was your willingness. Heaven responds to willingness with power. Let me tell you why the opening is so important. A closed spirit tries to fight battles alone. A closed spirit tries to carry burdens meant for angels. A closed spirit tries to outperform accusations through effort rather than truth. But an open spirit becomes aligned. It becomes connected to heaven's flow. It becomes a vessel the angels can defend, a heart the Holy Spirit can fill, a life heaven can move through without resistance. My beloved child, your spirit does not need to open perfectly. It only needs to open honestly. Heaven will do the rest. Michael will do the fighting. God will do the restoring. The scroll will do the speaking. All heaven requires from you is the courage to open. And once you do, everything written against you begins to collapse, and everything written for you begins to rise. My beloved child, now that your spirit has begun to open, let me lead you into the next moment I witnessed in the vision, a moment so powerful, so breathtaking, that even the angels bowed their heads as it unfolded. This is the moment heaven intervenes. Not solely, not softly, but with a force that shakes realms. The very instant your spirit opened, even by the smallest degree, the courtroom of heaven responded. Light from your true scroll surged upward like a rising tide. It washed through the room, pushing back every shadow, every whisper, every dark residue that clung to the false accusation. It was as if truth itself woke up and realized it was being invited into your life again. Michael felt the shift first. His wings lifted slightly, feathers shimmering with flames of glory. The sword in his hand pulsed like a heartbeat. His face hardened with focus not toward you, but toward the enemy's document. Heaven had been waiting for your yes, and the moment it came forth, everything changed. The quiet expectancy turned into movement. The stillness broke. The atmosphere thickened with holy power. Then, in a single motion that felt both slow as eternity and fast as lightning, Michael raised his sword. The fire around the blade roared higher, curling upward like living flames that recognized their assignment. Every angel in the room stood to attention. The shattered clock above the false accusation flickered, as though terrified, its numbers shaking violently. My beloved child, when Michael's sword rises, it is not merely a weapon. It is a verdict. It is a declaration. It is heaven's way of saying, this lie will stand no longer. He stepped toward the scroll written by the enemy, not in hesitation, but in certainty, in authority, in fierce defense of the truth written about you. And I tell you, my beloved child, his steps made the entire courtroom tremble. It was as though creation itself knew what was about to happen. He lifted the sword high above the false accusation, flames dripping from its edge like burning oil. And then, with a cry that shook the very pillars of the realm, he brought the sword down. The moment the blade touched the false scroll, the entire document screamed, not with a voice, but with the sound of lies collapsing. The ink evaporated. The parchment curled inward. The words twisted in agony as the fire of truth consumed them. It was not just being destroyed, it was being erased, undone, reversed at the root. Everything the enemy wrote against you melted away beneath the fire of heaven. As the accusation burned, a wind swept through the courtroom, not a violent wind, but a cleansing one, like the breath of God blowing away the remnants of deception. And with that wind came clarity. The air brightened. The walls glowed. Even the floor beneath Michael's feet shimmered as though it welcomed the victory. But the intervention did not end there. The scroll containing your true destiny, the one sealed with golden light, began to unroll on its own. The seal broke, not with force but with grace. And when it opened, my beloved child, the very letters inside the scroll rose like living fire. They floated upward, circling the courtroom, filling the space with the sound of truth singing. The words of your calling sang. The lines of your purpose sang. The declarations God wrote about you before time began sang. And each note of that song struck the shadows like a blow. They fled. They vanished. They could not withstand the sound of truth being revealed. In that moment, Michael stood guard beside your scroll, the flames of his sword settling into a steady glow. The angels bowed. The courtroom became still again, but not with tension, this time with reverence. Heaven had intervened. The accusation was destroyed. The countdown had stopped. The atmosphere around your name had shifted forever. My beloved child, do you feel it? Even as you listen now, something within you is being realigned. Something heavy is lifting. Something clouded is clearing. Heaven has already acted on your behalf. The intervention has been released. The light has come. My beloved child, now that heaven has intervened and the false accusation has been burned away by the sword of Michael, let us step into one of the most tender, sacred moments in the entire vision, the restoration of your name. For when the enemy writes a lie against you, it does not merely attempt to wound your reputation, it tries to stain your identity. And when heaven destroys that lie, heaven does not simply remove what is false, it restores what is true. As the flames of Michael's sword died down and the last trace of the false scroll vanished, a hush fell over the courtroom. Not a fearful silence, but a peaceful, holy quiet, like the stillness that rests over the earth before sunrise. The angels lowered their wings. The air shimmered as though washed clean. And then, all attention turned toward the scroll that held your true destiny. My beloved child, that scroll did not simply open. It bloomed like a flower touched by morning light. The golden seal cracked gently, and as it did, radiant letters rose from it like glowing embers drifting upward. These were not just words. They were fragments of your identity, pieces of your calling, echoes of who you have always been in the eyes of God. They illuminated the entire chamber, and wherever those letters drifted, healing followed. I watched as one of the angels stepped forward, holding a basin made of pure crystal. Inside the basin was a liquid that looked like melted light. The angel dipped a feather into the basin, then approached the scroll, as though preparing to rewrite it. But instead of writing something new, the angel began to trace over the words already written, words that had been written long before the enemy dared to fabricate his lie. And with each stroke, the letters glowed brighter. It was like watching your identity being reawakened. Michael looked on with reverence. His sword, though still burning, lowered to his side. He knew the battle was over. He knew the victory had been secured. But the restoration, the restoration was something softer, something precious, something that belongs only to those deeply loved by heaven. The angel traced a line that carried your name, and as the feather moved across the parchment, your name began to shine so brightly that it filled the entire room. Every letter pulsed with life. Every stroke carried meaning. Your name was rewritten, not because heaven had forgotten it, but because heaven wanted you to see it anew. The restoration was not for heaven's memory. It was for your spirit's awakening. Then something remarkable happened. As your name glowed, the courtroom shifted. I saw scenes, moments of your life, rise like reflections in glass. Times when you doubted yourself. Times when you felt unworthy. Times when others mislabeled you. Times when you walked with wounds you tried so hard to hide. All of these moments appeared around you, but they did not bring pain. They were being rewritten, reframed, recast through the lens of heaven's truth. For every moment you felt unseen, heaven revealed how closely you were being watched over. For every moment you felt alone, heaven showed the angels standing beside you. For every mistake you made, heaven showed the forgiveness that covered you. For every lie you believed, heaven showed the truth that was waiting to reclaim you. My beloved child, the restoration of your name is heaven's way of telling you that who you are has never been lost. Not to God, not to the angels, not to the destiny written for you. The enemy tried to brand you with a lie, but heaven has branded you with truth. Then the scroll began to roll itself up again, but this time the seal was different. The golden seal now bore the imprint of your restored name, surrounded by light that no darkness can penetrate. And as the scroll sealed, a burst of gentle warmth swept through the courtroom, almost like a sigh of relief from all creation. Michael stepped forward and touched the sealed scroll with his sword. The moment he did, a ripple of victory spread outward, a soundless announcement that the name once targeted has now been reclaimed, restored, and secured. My beloved child, your name has been restored in heaven. And when something is restored in heaven, it begins to manifest on earth. You may feel the shift in your heart. You may feel clarity returning. You may feel strength rising. This is not imagination. This is restoration. Heaven has already begun writing your identity in your own spirit. My beloved child, now we arrive at the final moment of this journey, this sacred closing where heaven's message settles into your heart like gentle rain upon dry ground. You have walked with me through visions of the ancient courtroom, through battles in the spirit realm, through the cry of Michael, through the destruction of the lie, and through the restoration of your name. Now, allow your soul to breathe. Let this final word rest upon you like a mantle placed on the shoulders of one chosen, loved, and called. My beloved child, I saw something in the vision that I have waited until now to share, for it belongs to the end. Once your scroll was sealed with your restored name, the courtroom shifted one final time. The throne began to glow with a radiance so powerful that even Michael bowed his head. And from that throne came a wave of light, gentle, warm, and full of the Father's heart. It washed over the entire chamber and then poured outward, flowing beyond the heavenly realm and into the earth, searching for one heart in particular. Your heart. That light carried a message, a blessing, a commissioning. It came to remind you that you do not walk the earth as one accused. You walk the earth as one appointed. You are not a child marked by the lie. You are a child sealed with truth. Heaven has not only defended you, heaven has prepared you. And now, my beloved child, the time has come for you to walk in the fullness of who you are. As that light touched your name on the scroll, I heard the whisper of God Himself. Let them rise again. Let them rise whole. Let them rise with clarity. Let them rise with fire. Let them rise and walk in what I have written. Those words were not spoken casually. They were spoken as a decree over your journey, your future, your identity, and your destiny. Every step you take from this moment on carries the authority of one reclaimed by heaven. You are no longer walking beneath the weight of accusation. You are walking beneath the covering of truth. The heavens have declared it so. My beloved child, as the courtroom settled into stillness, I watched as Michael turned once more toward the earth. His wings folded, his sword rested, but his posture remained ready. Ready to defend. Ready to guard. Ready to stand beside you as you move forward into the life heaven has restored. He is not distant. He is not delayed. He is present, assigned, and attentive. Heaven has not just fought for you, it continues to walk with you. And now, as this message nears its end, I must speak to you from the depth of spiritual responsibility. When heaven delivers a revelation like this, one that exposes the schemes of darkness, one that awakens destiny, one that restores identity, it is never meant to remain hidden. It is meant to shine. It is meant to reach others. It is meant to flow like a river from heart to heart, delivering freedom to those who do not yet know why they feel the heaviness they carry. If this message stirred your spirit, if it opened your eyes, if it awakened anything inside you, then understand this: heaven has chosen you as a carrier of light. When you share this message, when you help others connect to it, when you support the voice that brings it forth, you are not performing a simple action. You are participating in a divine assignment. You are helping heaven reach souls that are moments away from their own breakthrough. So, my beloved child, let your heart respond. Let your actions reflect the gratitude of a restored spirit. Lift this message up. Spread it. Strengthen it. Allow it to go forth so that others may find the same freedom heaven has released over you today. There is a holy responsibility upon you now, not of burden, but of purpose. And with that, my beloved child, I bless you. I speak peace over your mind, clarity over your path, strength over your steps, and truth over your identity. Walk now in the fullness of who heaven has declared you to be. Amen.